Well, I grew up, it was like one of those things with my dad. I was lucky enough to he's always worked on his own stuff, and we've built cars together and motorcycles together. So like that's also a side that I want to be able to share and like go out and maybe do like a IRL stream, as they call it,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
actually hands-on kind of stuff. Because I think people do see that as interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like anything, and maybe you can relate to this. When you're used to something growing up or throughout your life, sometimes you don't think it's interesting because you're used to it.
Welcome in, gamers, to the Rambling Gamers episode 13. Today we have an amazing guest, Cybrfox, here, who also streams on Twitch, has his own YouTube channel. He's also on Twitter. He started out streaming on Xbox. He has a new gaming rig he's going to give us a little bit of information about, and he also went to PAX East recently. We're going to get to know a little bit about how that was as well. Welcome in, Fox. How are you doing?
Good, Parrot. What's going on? How are you?
Just hanging out, and I'm ready for this episode. I'm excited for this episode. As soon as Jonzo, our friend of ours, we both have, told me about you, I was like ready. I was like, oh, I'm ready to hear you and talk. And you're the first guy that we've had so far that is mainly first-person shooters. So
okay.
I'm excited to have you on and have the listeners, get to know more about you. So one thing I always like to ask is where the gaming started. First console, first game. Little Fox, how was it?
Little Fox. Oh, what a cute little guy he was. No, I guess if you had to go back and I think probably like a lot of people, my first memory was probably the NES, the original NES. Although I did play on a Commodore 64 and still have my original Commodore 64, which I don't know if, do you remember what that is? That big kind of keyboard looking thing? Yeah. So I still have that, but a lot of the memories were NES, Super Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, and but I think a lot of I was still young enough that I didn't really know what the heck I was doing, but a lot of it really got into like, I love what this is when we got to Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo for me with Super Mario World, Mega Man X.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is a lot of inspiration for a lot of my Cybrfox branding. It was always like the fox with like the Mega Man mech kind of thing. But that's probably where it was. And then just, every holiday going to families' houses with cousins or whatever, just gaming, right?
Right. Finding out which cousin was better. And
that was always a competition, wasn't it?
For me, it was, we like all the the neighborhood kids, we'd all go to either our house or another buddy's house. And you wanted to survive as long as possible, whether it was, Mario's like, all right, we'll switch on death, right? You dropped down a hole, you get hit by a Koopa shell. So it's like, I want to last as long as possible so that, you got better just because I want to play for 10 minutes straight. When you're a kid, 10 minutes lasts, 3 hours, nowadays compared to that. But no, definitely Mega Man X. That was one of my first like favorite games, along with Super Mario World and actually Yoshi's Island, which was Super Mario World 2, technically.
2, yeah.
But I think we had the NES and the Super Nintendo because they were given to me from my sister. But yeah, that was mine first as well. But did you have any portable consoles, Game Boy, Game Gear?
So it was weird. I had friends that had Sega Genesis, the console, and was always like a foreign concept to me because I was always like Nintendo basically growing up, right? And then my first portable was actually the Game Gear, which I still have. And it was just, when I saw the Game Gear compared to the Game Boy, the original Game Boy, I'm like, this is in color. Why would I take a step backwards? Right into that tech? And I always wanted to play Sonic because I never had Sonic, never having a Genesis console, right? So that was also my first way that I could like get onto Sonic and play. And of course, Tails, Fox, there's a theme here, follow along. But so I started off on the Genesis, and then I think later on when Game Boy Color came out, I ended up getting one of that with and don't hate me. I did have Pokemon. I was a Pokemon Blue
Mm,
cartridge guy.
Same here. There's 10 of us.
Yeah. And but it was still the same thing of it was just kind of weird, that tech to me, because it seemed like at the time Nintendo was back on the tech, and I would much rather play on a system that had better tech than maybe like an exclusive, if that makes sense.
Right.
Even as a kid. So
Oh, you were ahead of the times. You were ahead of the times for that. I mean, I guess similar, like, especially playing on console games where you had so much more. And I remember it's probably around when we had Pokemon, where they introduced the adapter where you could play a Game Boy game on the Super Nintendo. And I was like, oh, I could play Pokemon in here, but it wasn't the same for me. It was weird. I was like, nah, it's on a bigger screen, but I like playing the handheld mode and putting that little USB adapter light on the side or whatever it was. But you're right.
Did you ever? This is a side step, but because we're talking about adapters and consoles and stuff, did you ever have either the Game Shark or Game Genie?
Yes. Yeah, we had the Game Shark.
I did too, and I don't know how I was even introduced to it, but I got it, and friends would come over and go like, "What is this?" Like, and thinking about that now, being able to manipulate a game, and get cheats out of a game, and that was fun though, right? That made it enjoyable. You didn't have to worry about getting banned.
They're not really ROM hacks, but the first way to like hack a game, to mod a game, and Another thing we had for Super Nintendo, we had a book. It was like an almanac of games. So like you could open it up and go to Mega Man, and you could type in the code. Remember Mega Man X? You type in, the way to save your game was this is the code to get back to where you were. They had all the codes in that game. So a lot of times I'm like, oh, I don't remember the code. Let me open up the page, or I want to go right to the end. And we had it for, it wasn't a thick book. It was only like 1/4 inch thick. It was a little magazine, but it had every game and either codes to get ahead or cheats to use, and that's all it was. There was no Google back then. It was get a book.
Think about the time and energy that somebody had to do to actually go through and find those.
Figure that out. Yeah.
Right.
There was no emailing so and so. Like it was either a team effort or one guy having to go out and get all that.
Yeah.
It's like there's a YouTube. I gotta find the link. I'll put it in the description. There's a guy that talks about the history of how they made like the first Mario game, how they placed all the pixels. I'm not sure if you saw that, but just the art style and like how they drew it all out in a piece of paper before they even made the first Mario. That's how they designed the level. It was just like a giant graph paper, and they drew in each pixel where it was going to go.
We've come a long way.
You're telling me.
Think about organizing for a second, right? A modern day game, and I'm just going to go to Call of Duty because like I finished the campaign a couple weeks ago finally and played through it, and like the list of credits and people all over the world and all that, and you go, how do you even organize something on that scale to get everybody on the same page, right? It's nuts.
Even like just 10 years ago, I mean, I'm dating myself, but the 2012, 13, even then everybody was kind of switching towards like cloud-based, Google Drive and everything like that. And ever since 2020, now everybody can be remote. Right. Just like a decade, how everything can change. And looking back, 3 decades ago, 2 decades ago, it's just like, how did you guys organize this stuff?
I'm scared for the next decade with how we're going with AI and the tech at this point.
I'm scared. I saw one. I'm in architecture, and just so everybody knows, this is Fox and I. Like, this is our first conversation. We talked a little bit before. And there's AI.
And by the way, not to dox ourselves, we're not that far apart distance wise that we found out from each other.
Yeah, we're New York boys, New York State boys, and maybe you guys will get a collab combination.
There we go.
Pack soon or something like that down the road.
There we go.
AI architect, they're doing 3D like just designs now, and I'm like, okay, it's a pretty picture, but it's not functional. You know what I mean? Like you put in a couple photos of houses. I want it to look like this, but you need a floor plan, structural. You need it to actually work versus a pretty picture.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue right now, and sorry if this is off topic for games and stuff, but like just the fact that it's very confident in its answers and it's not always accurate, right? And it's like, oh, this is easy how to build this. You structure it like this, it's great. And to the layman, it's going perfect. We'll just build it like this. Well,
And well, there's also who are they getting the images from? Are they stealing from the artist? And it's a whole. I had that's episode I think it's episode 4 or 5 where I talked with Gray from Tripulant, and she actually made the merch that I sell on my store. And we didn't talk too much about AI, but she's not a fan of it because you're an artist and you make your stuff and you want it to be what you create, not what somebody took a photo and now they're recreating what you did or using your style, right? But going back on topic a little bit, I know you talked about playing games with your cousins growing up, and do you have any fond memories or any certain memories that stick out to you when you were younger playing games? Figuring out who was the best, or you have this console.
When I was younger, so the cousins, it was basically you brought whatever console or game that we had at the time. It was Genesis or Super Nintendo, but I think probably my most fondest memories are when I was getting into like middle school. I had a group of friends that were super close. We would hang out at one particular friend's house every weekend, right? Every weekend we'd be playing games, and we would spend hours on hours on. Remember the demo? Remember when they actually used to send demo CDs out when like PlayStation 1, all that stuff, right? Like, or you'd get one in a pack of something, and so Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I remember we hours on that.
Yes.
On the first map.
Yeah.
And the same thing of let me do a run, then you do a run, see what we could do for points. Yeah. That was always fun.
Or finding certain parts of the map the other one didn't see yet. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know you can go over here or jump on a car or a truck.
Yeah, it was my first experience of making a single player game, a community kind of feeling, right? Where it's this kind of friendly competition with your friends to like, what can we do? What can we explore together? And we'll do this as a team. And Smash Brothers and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And it was such an impactful time that one of our friends ended up going into the gaming industry.
Oh wow. Okay.
And now he owns his own studio, and he's not that far away from you.
Oh wow.
And he is the owner and lead of Crowbar Collective, which made the Black Mesa game on Steam.
Oh, okay. Well,
it was a
Half-Life. We'll have to talk after.
Yeah, yeah, it was a Half-Life remake, and it's an amazing remake that they did.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah. But those were probably my fondest memories because it was just everybody was in it to explore and have fun and be competitive at the same time. And Smash, that was, I think, the original Smash came out on 64 at that time, and we would just spend hours and hours trying to throw each other off the freaking map.
That 64, I feel like we had so many hours. If they could, now the Switch or whatever game console will tell you how many hours. I wish I could see my hours back when I was 10, 12, and I had nothing else to do, especially. Upstate New York, cold weather, back when we used to get snow.
Right. Yeah, when we used to get snow.
And you and I were messaging yesterday, and I think it was like here, like 68, 69 degrees. And I'm like, well, enjoy the sun a little bit.
Yeah, and what's it down to today? It's 30 degrees, says Google right now. So
we get closed out real quick in New York. So.
Oh, yeah.
It was nice. Never mind.
No, short-lived.
And I mean, middle school for you, that was probably around GameCube era as well, right? Right when the game out.
Yeah, GameCube came out that era, which was again real interesting, right? Because it was Nintendo's first kind of
the micro discs too. It was so weird.
Yeah, the disc.
They were ahead of their time as far as portable gaming. Like that was cool.
Yeah.
Like if you were lucky enough to have a TV, the TV that flipped out with you. But
I still, and this is probably controversial, still say that was my favorite controller that they've had.
Oh,
was the GameCube controller.
Yeah.
Everybody loves 64, and I was. Did you have a 64?
Yeah. I got it.
I got it. We just had a conversation the other day because we loaded up GoldenEye. Were you a two-hander on the outside or inside?
So I was the outside. I was the only person. I was the only one that was an outside. Everybody else was inside or the weird like inside outside grip. And I'm like, no, you gotta just stretch your hands out,
Yeah. Yeah. Man, oh man. Yeah, I was the weird one out too because of that.
There's literally dozens of us. Don't worry. that use the outside.
And then of course they come out with GameCube controller, right? And now they're like, oh, this is weird. I'm like, not really.
Yeah, no,
not really. It's
if you're
normal.
playing my way, you got used
Right,
to
exactly.
This. I have a friend. We play Smash. He moved across country, but sometimes we'll play online. But through our whole like young adulthood, we play Smash, and every system he goes, I need the GameCube controller. That's the only way he plays Smash. He goes, he's a prima donna with controllers for Smash only. So
that's okay.
There are people like that. When I was in college too, similar people. They would have Smash tournaments, and I would always lose early. But you have the ones that bring their own controller, and I'm just like, all right, Mad Cats, whatever the brands were,
So it's funny. Talk about Smash for a second. So we were at PAX last week, and they had a Smash competition on the big screen in what they called the arena, and they had announcements and cameras and lights going. I'm going, where the heck am I right now? But like, think of back when Smash came out on 64 and GameCube, and you had one or two, maybe it was yourself, friends in that group that were good at that game. That was like their game, right? Yeah. Then introduce online, and whatever you thought you were good at has gone out the window now.
No, we had it was a group of about 10 or 12 of us that would play, and I was the best one for a while, or me and my one buddy who I told you about that loves controllers, the certain controller. And then there was another dude. He was just on a whole other level, and I remember I beat him, and he kicked everybody out the room because we always played as groups, and he was just like one-on-one, no items, and I was just like, okay, I thought this was fun. And then he whooped me just to prove a point, and I'm just like, hey, I still beat you technically. That's all that matters to me. But okay, but before we move on, can you explain to anybody that may not know what PAX is? Because we may have some listeners that may not know.
So PAX is it stands for Penny Arcade Conference, and it's been going on for a couple years. I guess it originated. This was my first PAX that I've ever been to, but it originated as a comic book starring two characters. I think it was Gabe and Tycho. And I've never actually read through the comic book, but it features those two characters, and it led into this conference based off the comic book, which is basically now anything to do with video games, whether it be the actual games themselves, the studios, the publishers, but also that there's companies there selling, customized controllers, keyboards, mice, all the accessory stuff. And then I went towards the back, which is it was a huge thing. It was Boston Convention Center, and they had rows and rows and rows of tables for any kind of tabletop gaming that you would want to do. So there was D&D, there was Catan, Exploding Kittens. Just games I've never even heard of before.
Have you ever seen Parks and Rec?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I was going to say, did they have Cones of Dunshire?
Cones of Dunshire? No, they didn't have it. Although I kind of wish they did. But, it was a 4-day event, and I feel like I would have to do a couple of the PAXs to actually figure out what I wanted to do, because there was people there that were spending the money to go. They had a whole section where you could bring your own computer, leave it there.
Really?
It was a secure area. Yep. Wow. Secure area, and you could just game, or they had a whole other section for competitions where were just rows of high-end PCs, Alienware stuff that was like ready to go sit down, let's game like Gang Beasts.
Oh,
right?
Wow.
And just a whole competition.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's legit. That's legit.
Right. And I thought it was more of just a show, like, here's our new game, here's this new product.
Right.
And it really is so much more than that. They had so many different competitions, speed runs.
Oh, wow.
You could
I love speed runs.
You didn't have to be a pro.
Yeah.
Do you like speed runs, you said, or you don't?
Oh, I love watching them. I watch them. I don't do them,
yeah,
but I watch them. It's one of those things.
I could never do it myself, but
it's just so much work. It's so much work, and figuring out the mechanics of the game and just the little things that you wouldn't realize, unless you spend hundreds, thousands of hours in it, So it sounded like you thought it was more of like an E3, and it was more like just a playing event, rest in peace, E3. But,
I know, right? Right after we get back and they announced that.
They're like, oh, well, no. I think it'll come back as a different thing, but
it might, but I think PAX, and for more of the game developers and studios, GDC, Game Developer Conference, which is huge. I think those are going to be the big conventions where it kind of includes everybody, and then Nintendo's going to have their thing, Sony and Microsoft.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I
but yeah, I
mean,
thought
yeah.
I thought it was going to be more of a show, and it ended up being very, very interactive.
Yeah, that sounds sweet. I'm gonna have to. They do those every year, like around this
Um,
before spring, end of winter.
I think it probably varies a little bit, but there's PAX East and there's PAX West. For us, obviously, it'd be easier to get to the East one,
Right.
but
Well, one day, I would love to go to
one
those.
day.
And have you ever been to TwitchCon, or would you want to go?
No, I kind of want to go this year.
Right,
Is it Vegas?
Vegas this year. Yeah.
Vegas. I want to. Like we were talking before we actually started recording, right? But I've got my hands in a bunch of different things right now
Right.
in the gaming industry, which I didn't tell you about. But so as much as I love streaming, it's very hard to stay consistent when I got other stuff
Yeah.
going.
Nope. I feel like I said, this is my first week. So a lot of my listeners and viewers know that'll listen in. I got this new job this week, and I'm going for daytime to a night stream. And I'm like, okay, this one night stream this week. Let me get used to this job, and then I'll throw in some more Mario Kart streams down the road.
And it's tough, right? Finding that
It is.
balance is extremely difficult.
Yeah, because I don't know about you, but I have a better half, and it's like I get home from work and she wants to spend time with me, or I want to just relax, and streaming. I always, whenever I talk with another streamer, we always spend like 20 minutes talking about streaming, so I try to hold back, but it's not easy. It's not easy, and that's why I like this pre-recorded stuff, because you can clip out those little mess ups, or you don't have chat distracting you and trying to do 10 things at once, or talk to multiple people and focus on the game. I like this one-on-one.
I think that's one of the tough parts about streaming in general. That's tough, but when it comes to, like we were talking earlier about, like first person shooters, right? Streaming that, extremely difficult to be any kind of competitive, especially when you're trying to coordinate with a team and chat is yelling at you going, Fox, what is going on? Or your mic is off, or your lights, or something happened, right?
Well, it used to be for me when
tough.
I first started. I had the cheap Logitech camera mic combo, and I would be playing a game, like I hear a dog barking. I'm like, I don't have a dog, it's my neighbor's dog barking. I'm just like, well, I need a new microphone, and I got that a few months later. But
well, I took the silly approach of, I've always wanted the stream to be more interactive, and so one of the things that I implemented are the people in the chat able to change the lights in the room and what's going on.
That's nice.
The problem is, the first time I implemented the flashbang redeem, I got 2 Elgato key light airs on either side of me. And the whole room, even the ceiling lights, are all smart lights. So when they flashbang me and you're right in the middle of competition, I'm just completely blinded, and I hear the ringing in my headset.
Right.
It's tough. So I guess my point is like, if I was playing Animal Crossing, they probably wouldn't affect me that much. So
I'm triggered. I'm triggered. I play Animal Crossing, and you know what? It's tough doing island tours, And no, but you're right though. And cue the music, "Blinded by the Light" for that. That section.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely.
But yeah, no, I have friends that play, whether it's Apex or Fortnite or COD, and I don't know how I make connections, but I think at the end of the day, we're all in this together. No matter what game you play, we're all just trying to build a community and trying to meet other people. And like you said before we even started talking, the networking, meeting other people, and it's hard. Like me, when I start a brand new streamer I've never met, I'm just quiet. I'm just like, okay, let me see what they're about, and see if I can just say hi. And that was similar with Jonzo. He came in through a raid from somebody else, found me. He plays Dead by Daylight, which I play occasionally, and he does art streams. Total opposite of what I do. Hang out with each other all the time, and helps with the podcast, and that's the fun part.
Sometimes you hit it off with people, right? There's no rhyme or reason, and maybe the commonality is very small, if any, but it just like works sometimes.
Right.
Like Jonzo and I, like I said, we've never met in person. I found him on Twitter. He had tweeted that he was going live one day, and I was just like, oh, maybe I should start networking. And that's how I found him.
Right.
And hopped into his stream and thought it was really interesting, because if you watched the last Parrot podcast, you would find out that he has multiple people on that channel with him
Yeah.
doing streams.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a very interesting thing, and we just kind of hit it off, and we were talking, and so again, he's into Pokemon, he's into the art stuff that I'm not into right now,
Right.
but it's always fascinating watching him and
Right.
listening to him and just being a part of it, right?
Yeah, those are sometimes the best streamers that I make connections with, ones that I can just watch. You know, Jonzo, and there's another friend of mine, Da Peach, who gives like stream advice, and it's like, oh, I could just watch you give people advice on streaming, or watch John's or anybody draw. Like, I love art streams and all that stuff. Like last night, I was watching a video of somebody cleaning their car, and the first comment was, "I love laying in bed watching someone else clean a car, pretending I did that to mine." And I'm like, that's I've been called out. That's me right now. But you know, it's nicer weather in New York, and it's like, hey, I gotta start thinking about what am I gonna do? You know, I'm gonna clean my car up and get outside more.
I build bikes and cars as a hobby. So
how many hobbies does this guy have, guys? We're gonna start a counter.
Well, I grew up, it was like one of those things with my dad. I was lucky enough to he's always worked on his own stuff, and we've built cars together and motorcycles together. So like that's also a side that I want to be able to share and like go out and maybe do like a IRL stream, as they call it, like actually hands-on kind of stuff, because I think people do see that as interesting. But it's like anything, and maybe you can relate to this. When you're used to something growing up or throughout your life, sometimes you don't think it's interesting because you're used to it. But to somebody else, they've never experienced that in their lives. Yeah. So it's like, oh, how do you do that? How do you do this? Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's how YouTube got big. People just posting stuff that they're doing, working on their car, cleaning it, history of gaming. It's like, oh, I always played this. I haven't played it in 10 years. Let me watch how they created Super Mario Bros. 3, right? Or someone speedrun it and beat it in 5 minutes. It's like, holy.
Right.
I remember being stuck on the first world for, when I was 6. Now you're seeing someone just destroy your game, and it's like, yes, do it, and
yeah, it's brought a lot of highs and a lot of lows watching other people play games and stuff in front of you. You go, I thought I was good at something, and then I guess
that's going back at Smash Bros. Or even Mario Kart. My times where I'm like, yeah, I'm the best of my friends at Mario Kart, and I start streaming it, and then somebody comes in, and it's just like, how are you this good? Like, how are you that much faster than me? How are you this far ahead? But there's blue shells still, and it's
they're running out on a supercomputer that you don't know about yet.
Yeah, or those crazy controllers that like click A for you multiple times. I forget the name of those, but
yeah, a bunch of companies now make those. Are so freaking popular.
I know, man. We were talking in my chat the other day about the dual edge PlayStation controller, the $200 controller. You heard of that?
Okay. No,
anyways, the controller's $200. That's the mic drop. Okay. Give it.
Ever since just real quick. Ever since I played a game called Siphon Filter on PlayStation. It might have been a Tom Clancy, like one of the original Tom Clancy games called Siphon Filter. And I've had arguments with buddies about this all the time. It was one of those things, Tomb Raider did it too, where you would walk up to a wall and the textures would kind of shift the closer you got.
Yeah.
I've never owned a PlayStation. I never want to own a PlayStation. It ruined gaming for me because when I'm running at something, I didn't want the textures to go like
change
this
around
and
on
shift
you.
around.
Yeah.
And I know that's not PlayStation's fault, but I was like, no.
Well, I grew up with obviously Nintendo. Both of us have. And my dad got us a Xbox. And that's where I got into Halo. And I want to have a whole conversation with you on Halo in just a sec. But because that was, Halo 2 were my first online experiences and playing with people.
Okay.
And actually, I talked about this in my last episode where it was just me talking. And that was my first experience, like meeting with people like, hey, the first person I ever met only was about 2 hours from me. It wasn't you.
Wow. That's crazy.
And we were, I think it was me and my brother. And then this kid, I was probably about 14. My brother 11, and this kid was probably like right around that age, 12, whatever. And he's like, where do you live? And we're like, here. He goes, I live here. We like map quested it or whatever it was back then. We're like, holy shit, you live this close to us. And thank God it was another child versus an adult. But we learned after that one, we were like, well, maybe we shouldn't tell people where we live. And then playing Halo with 30 and 40-year-olds, and I'm 16, and having random talks about their wives, and I'm just like, I just want to shoot people.
It's a different world now,
And
right?
now
And
it's
now
just upside down,
now
man.
I'll dox myself now being in my mid 30s.
Mm-hmm.
I'll hop in a game and get crushed by a 10-year-old
Yeah.
and just ponder my life after I get offline and go, what am I doing
Like,
anymore?
did he really bang my mom? You know, like.
Is that true?
Sure.
Is that true? Hold on a second.
Mom.
Halo Killer 64 just said, is that true? No.
Oh God. No, that reminds me of I'm gonna go off I do this all the time. I go off topic, but that reminds me of people's names. XX_69. You know.
Weird freaking names, man.
You know, Bangmaster 69 again, XX. But
I think my first online experience was actually on PC at our friend's house that had a gaming PC, and it was actually Counter-Strike.
Oh, Counter-Strike. I had friends like not too long ago still playing it. Like, I don't know if the servers are still open.
We're on a Counter-Strike or Global Offensive or whatever,
Mhm.
CSGO right now. Like Kick, because I think it's popular because a new one just got announced.
Right.
But it's funny that that's one of the only games that hasn't really changed in the last literally decade.
Yeah. Yeah.
That and GTA 5 were coming up on the
GTA 5. I mean, we had 3 and 4 in Vice City in the same time that we had
Yeah.
I mean, there was stuff leaked for 6, which you feel bad for the developers for that, but I mean, we knew they were working on it. It's Rockstar. They only work on a couple things really, and they're all bangers, right? We got
But they've been so quiet on that game.
Yeah. Maybe
quiet.
it's I don't know for a company, but maybe it's like for me personally, when you do something really well and it's just like, how am I gonna top this? So maybe that's what they're feeling, but you got CEOs and teams of people doing it, so I don't know if they feel that way or maybe it's just the higher ups.
I think as big as that game is going to be, they also have to take into account that now they have a generation jump in consoles, right? So you have to accommodate that because I think people are less forgiving now because they say, well, wait a minute, I still have the old generation Xbox. Okay, well that's done now. But at this point, the new Xbox, the new PlayStation's out. Is that going to be viable? Is this game going to be bigger where if we do a next generation jump, okay, there's only features on this one. I mean, it's I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I think
I played the original GTA 5 on my Xbox 360 before I got the Red Circle of Death or Red Ring of Death. And I remember then they built it and then, PlayStation 4, look how much, or Xbox, the next Xbox One or S, whatever it was, and look how much better it is. And I'm like, I'm too cheap to buy another one right now. But it's like, what console do you build it off of? And controversy aside, just use it as an example, the Harry Potter game, right? That just came out on all the new systems, and they're still working on the PlayStation 4 and the previous Xbox, and then I don't know how that game's gonna run on the Switch.
You look at all the money and time and investment in these games that are awesome games, right? AAA blockbuster games. They got all the latest tech and graphics. Awesome. Then you look at a game like Among Us and you say, wow, you really don't have to. I saw games at PAX that had the same kind of appeal. They were single or dual devs, right? Working in their off time. And you're looking at this going, this is a hit. And you don't really know why it's going to be a hit, but you're looking at it and people are lined up and there's something about it that you're like, I just want to play this. This looks really fun.
Right.
So there's something to be said about that too. There's Rockstar spending all this time and money, and I've seen single dev go like, 6 months it's got me here. It's like what?
Sometimes less is more.
Exactly.
Maybe they could do start doing Rockstar development where I mean I don't know if you remember like Armor Games or addictinggames.com, like those old Flash games that you could play on the computer.
Yeah, Underground.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
New Undergrounds or something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name. Yeah, Flash games. Yeah, for sure.
Those are my favorite for a long time. Those
tower
defense games.
Something about Flash in the frame rate was so smooth back then, right? Like stick figure games or all these easy games, they were just so smooth looking.
Well, it's funny because I think it was about high school when I was like, someone introduced me to it. Like, oh, you can, parallel park in this driver's ed game. And I was like, okay, whatever. Use your keyboard and space bar. and I was playing one game, and it worked. I thought, well, and then I went home and played the same exact game, same website. On our home, we had the iMac, the fancy colored iMacs, and the game was like triple the speed, and I'm just like, wait, the game's this fast? Is the school computer that slow? Where it was just like, and then I get home and it's just, everything's moving 10 times faster. I'm like, oh god. But that was like my first history lesson of computers are different, parrot. And
way different, right? I remember in middle school coming into high school where the teachers and the tech people at school didn't really know the ins and outs of like doing LAN games and stuff like that. We would go into the computer lab and it wasn't Call of Duty. It was Medal of Honor.
Oh, wow. I forgot about that series.
Yeah, I know. And we would do Medal of Honor LAN parties. And sometimes the teachers would join us because they didn't really get, what it was history to them. So it was interesting and stuff like that. But you couldn't do that now.
It must have been something about history teachers, because our history teacher would let us play. He let us play Halo. And that was my first time playing with non-home friends. It was with school friends. And it was like, Parrot, you're pretty good at this. And I'm like, well, I don't have much of a life outside of school right now. And there was like two of us that rose to the top of like, we're always at the end of like the death matches.
Yeah.
I think I had an episode with somebody else, and they said their history teacher would let them play games. I'm just like,
about history. I think you're right. Something about history teachers. They didn't care. It's not that they didn't care, but they're like, yeah, whatever.
You learned enough. You learned a lot.
Yeah, you learned enough. I mean, it's still there. You'll learn about it at some point. History's not going to change. So
I mean, we're living in the history that other kids are going to be learning down the road.
Well, unless you want to go real, just weird about it and say this is all simulation until we all reboot.
I mean, I'm waiting to get the red and blue pill right now. So
there you go. I'm still looking for the Game Genie and Game Shark so I can maybe cheat my way a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Do I have like somewhere I can put it so I can get the unlimited money cheat?
Yeah, exactly, man.
I mean, speaking of PC games, I don't know if you did it as well. I mean, this speaks to my architecture background, but I used to love The Sims and the mother load cheat and get unlimited. I'm like, let me build a house exactly how I want it.
I think that was one of the only games I actually owned like at my house, because again, I didn't have a gaming PC, but like as we got a little bit older, we just had like a family PC and it could run Sims, right? A lot of PCs could run Sims. And my sister was huge into it. I have a younger sister, and she absolutely just loved The Sims because she was at that age where it's like, brother likes it, it's cool, it's a video game, but yet it's storytelling. It's her, on a bigger scale. So, but it was always
playing
cool.
house. Like, you could say it's playing house.
Yeah, playing house basically is what it is in a video game.
It's funny because that was the opposite for me. I had an older sister, and her playing game. Mario 64, watching her beat the game, I was just like, whoa, And then I would play her save file, like, yeah, I can do whatever I want now. I got 99 lives, and I can see Yoshi. Spoiler alert, guys. Sorry for 64.
Oh my god!
I know it was on your list.
It's gonna stream that this week. Great. So just.
Oh man, that's one of my favorite things to stream are retro games. Like every once in a while, I'll do like Mario 64 and. Back when I was streaming more, and lately I've been doing Breath of the Wild because I'm waiting for the Tears of the Kingdom sequel. They
had a huge display for that at PAX.
Really? Oh, really?
Huge display. Like you walk into PAX, and before you even got into the convention center, like in the lobby, there was lifelike Link, like life-size Link, just like in his pose, and this giant LCD screen behind him that was just kind of like in motion. Which was really cool looking.
Yeah.
And we had the conversation there of there was a panel talking about why are lower tier games sometimes better, kind of like what we're talking about now. And I guess one of the consensus was like, name one of the top a game that you would rate 10 out of 10 or close to it. And everybody kept saying Breath of the Wild. And I've never played it because I don't own it this generation, the Switch. But now everybody's saying you have to buy the Switch just for that and Smash. Like you need to.
I mean, I got it. For me, I kind of took like not a break from gaming. I just wasn't playing it as much. And then my buddy and I believe he got the Switch. Oh no, we both played it on the Wii U. Don't ask why I had one. And and I was just like, well, I'm not gonna buy a new Switch. I'm gonna play it on the Wii U. I'm gonna be cheap. I'll just buy the game. And that was
Hmm.
the first game in a long time that me and my buddy, we would get home from work and we would call each other. What are you doing right now? I'm exploring. I saw a dragon. You saw there's a dragon in the game, and we're just going through and just we would talk for like an hour and a half. Like, all right, I gotta go make dinner and hang up the phone and pause the game and text each other. Like it was the first game that kind of made me feel like a kid again. Just
Right. Yeah.
reminded me of just exploring randomly. Just I like the graphics. They're not looking now. It's like 6, 7 year old game, but I like it. I
Right. Yeah.
love the style, and it was just fun. It was just a sandbox game. You just finish the tutorial and go wherever you want. That's what I loved
And
about
that's
it.
okay too, right? I mean, it doesn't always have to be about the competitive. It doesn't always have to be like puzzle solve it. Sometimes it's just about the exploration,
Experience
and
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 yeah,
that's the huge appeal of those open worlds. It's
yeah.
like I think one of the best game mechanics is if you can kind of ride that line of open world. If I want to go
Mhm.
off and do my own thing, awesome.
Right,
But if I want to follow this linear story, I
right,
can do that
right.
and then hop back and
Yeah,
forth
and
between the two.
in the game without spoiling for it, they kind of give you like, oh, this is where you could go, but
Hmm.
there's nothing forcing you. They can tell you go north and you just go south and just do your own thing, and the game
Hmm.
knows that okay, you did this first. All right, but there's
The games I do have problems with
mhm,
are the ones though that have that open world slash
mhm.
linear, but the problem is they like put you behind this wall of you have to play so long
Yeah,
into it before that kind of opens up.
right, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing Octopath Traveler. I love RPGs as well.
Okay.
And that game there's 8 characters, and you can start whichever one you want. I wish they'd make a Pokemon game like this, honestly, where you can start wherever part of the world you want. And like the main areas to get to everybody is a low level, so you can reach everybody. And certain parts are like, level 45, and it's like, okay, I can't reach that yet. It's probably late game stuff. But you can
Right.
get all the 8 characters, and you can mix and match which ones you want. Um, it's not linear is if you want to do each character's story, but you can do this and you can focus on one character's story the whole time, finish it, and then move on to the next one. You can play it. There's
Hmm.
multitude of ways to play it. And,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, I like a little bit of linear because sometimes I'm just like I don't have time to have brain power to think of which way I need to go. Just tell me a little bit. But then sometimes like okay, I just feel like exploring, like Breath of the Wild.
Right.
And
Exactly. Yeah.
I've never played Red Dead Redemption 2, so
I have. Yeah.
uh, that's on my list. So I got a new console that I won't tell you about which one it is, but
Ooh.
I'm gonna probably just gonna play it off stream. I want to experience the game because everything I read online for open world is get Red Dead, Red Dead 2. So I'm just like, all right,
I bet you it would actually make really interesting content,
yeah,
and as long as you have the kind of chat that aren't spoiling things for you,
right,
it probably will be pretty entertaining for them. Having probably more people played it now because it's been out for a little bit,
yeah,
I bet you to watch somebody that's brand new
right.
playing it probably be pretty
You
interesting.
know what's funny is bringing it back because we have the we know Jonzo, but his favorite
Hmm.
thing is watching people that never played Pokemon before. He loves
Oh,
watching
really?
people like I love that they don't know anything. So maybe you're right. Maybe I'll play a little bit of it. Play
Hmm.
through it,
Well, there's something entertaining about it, especially it's like if I went and watched somebody play Smash for the first time, right? Having the hours into Smash, it's
Right.
like, how do you use this? Oh, you gotta do this. This it does what? You
Yeah,
know, you
yeah,
gotta use it in this way.
yeah,
That's always a cool thing
yeah,
to see.
yeah. No, no, no I agree. I mean, maybe just because I'm not a backseater, but I'm just sometimes I get irritated. I'm just like, why don't you know this? So maybe I'm the opposite. So maybe that's why I didn't think it'd be great content. But I know some people
I
are.
get that. I
Some
get that.
people, like you said, it depends on your chat and all the people in there. Like, do they care or do they want to see you experience it the first time? Because it's kind of like it's new for them too, watching you
Right.
experience it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
And we didn't even talk yet. How did you decide to start streaming, or what made you decide?
I think, like many people, so I'll give you a little background on myself. So I've been in the financial industry for 12 plus years
Hmm.
now. I run my own firm, working my own clients and all that kind of stuff. And I think COVID hit like many people,
Mm-hmm.
and we weren't going anywhere. And I loved gaming. I was never a huge fan of watching people. Like when Mixer was a thing on Xbox, right? Microsoft's Mixer.
Mm-hmm.
I was never a fan of watching people because I thought, why would anybody do this? I would rather play the game
Yeah.
instead of watching somebody. Just at the time, that was my thought. And I think when COVID hit, I played games, but I couldn't even see my friends, and we were playing online. But you got this, so I started watching more and more, and I'm thinking I like the aspect of that, not for the sole fact of I wanted to, be the biggest streamer in the world. I like the entertainment factor. So I have always said that my channel, you will see probably some of the worst gameplay that you will ever see in your life, but and it's filled with insanity, but we meet some awesome people along the way.
Right.
And like Jonzo, shout out to my two moderators, Mel and Heather. Like they're amazing. They're people that I've met just by streaming. They've just kind of come into the channel, or I've gone into their channel, and that's what makes it. I'll tell you, actually, you know what? This is streaming is so cool to me because hanging up in the office. So my girlfriend and I, we had a German Shepherd that passed away a few years ago. I had just kind of gotten into streaming, and Heather, one of my mods, is also an artist. And again, never met her in person. She took the time and drew the dog.
Holy crap.
She did it digitally, but
that's digital?
It's digital, but she did it by hand, and it took her 22 hours, I think. She sent me the time lapse video of her actually drawing it by hand. So we get this package in the mail from somebody that I didn't, she used her actual real name on the package. I was like, I'm not sure who this is.
Right.
And or how they got my address. It was a friend, which was fine, but it was like, oh my God, who is this? We opened this up, and there's this beautiful note that says, been through this before, losing a pet. We know how sad it is. Hope you can keep her memory alive.
Right.
Roxy was our dog. So, but I guess the whole point of that is you meet amazing people.
Yes, you do.
Friends that you can say that will be there for you, even if they have to buy a plane ticket and meet you in person for the first time. That's pretty awesome.
No, that's dude, that's a testament to your chat, and also you. You are, the streamers are the magnet that bring in people, right? So that's a testament to who you are in the chat that you've built. That's amazing. And well, I'll make sure John Joe throws in a little shout out for your mod as well.
Yes, please. Heather and Mel are very good friends and awesome mods. So that's awesome. But that's how I got into it, and I think it's not about the games anymore, man. It's just and I don't know about you. Do you play a lot with other people on stream, or is it mainly just you?
So normally it's just me, but I'll play with chat, like Mario Kart or Dead by Daylight or whatever. Because to me, it's about the reason I started streaming is because most of my friends moved away before the pandemic, and then I wasn't able to make any new friends because we were locked in a house for a while. So I was like, a friend of mine started streaming for a little bit before he stopped, and I was like, well, maybe I'll just try a little bit. My thought was, I can meet friends to play with. I started a Discord so that I can meet other people and play with them and get to know one another. And, oh, you're from Sweden, you're from Colorado, you're from New York, and you can, now I have a group where I can play with them. They can play with other people. They can meet and talk. And that was the whole thing. Just having a nice little tight knit community where, whether I'm streaming to 5 people, 10, 20 people, we're just having a good time, catching up. Hey, how was your day? I know you just got a new job, blah, blah, blah. Oh, how's the new dog or whatever? Like you get to know them. And to me, it's similar to you. Like, I don't care about being famous. It's just about, I want connections. I want to just, I needed that social aspect of life that I was missing. Even though I'm the only one talking for the most part, obviously co-streams here and there with a few friends. Mostly it's just hanging out with chat.
Yeah, I think I started doing that. I started doing just me, and I still do that from time to time, and just kind of listen chat, or chat will hop in. But what I've actually really found that I enjoy more is having a couple, and you got to be careful. You got to be select few of the people that are live with you in voice chat.
Right.
But that, I think, brings me back to those middle school days when you would sit together, because now you're in it together and you're talking to them and you have the same goal, right?
Yeah.
And those are when the hilarious insanity happens. You know?
Yeah, it's
So
like
that's my favorite part.
My chat wants to hear whoever's playing with me on voice chat, and like you said, you got to be a little selective. It's nothing against anybody, but you got to make sure people, talking live is much different than just talking on Discord and talking shit to each other. So, but yeah, it is definitely fun, like you said, to get funny moments where what happened, and oh man. So would you say that getting the drawing of Roxy was your favorite Twitch moment, or do you have any other favorite moments that stick out to you?
I think that's definitely up there. That's probably my favorite moment on there, because it was so genuine of somebody else to do that. I think probably my second favorite moment is when I had we ran a subscriber tournament, a sub tournament in Halo, and I didn't want to participate, but we didn't have enough people to make it even, so I did participate. But my plan was to be the commentator on it,
right?
And Jonzo actually came on board with me and was the co-commentator. So when I was actually in there playing with my teammate, he was taking over the commentator role. But that was just really cool, because it was the absurdity that I would have any kind of ESPN like commentating of a video game of just my members was so awesome.
Yeah.
So that was really fun.
And they love it too, because a lot of times people that are in chat, they like being highlighted a little bit, right? Like, oh, they're talking about me. And I've hosted two similar types of tournaments. One was a game you probably never heard of, a very small game for the Switch called Ninjala. And that's actually how I started streaming, and it was a lot of fun. It was a good way, because it was such a small community to grow. Like, I got 18 people in my chat, and that's the larger streamer for that game, because there's nobody else really playing it. And I held a tournament for that, and I had a friend at the time, Ari, who co-commentated with me. We just watched and talked. And then the second one was second game that I commentated. I can't remember now, but I did it. Oh, Fall Guys. And I did it with 3 other streamers, so we could try to get as close to 60 for a custom room as possible. And I think we got like 45, 50. Which was crazy. I was like, let's get the 4 of us together, and it kind of got mixed who was in whose stream. Definitely would do a little different next time, but it was fun having everybody talk, and I'm from so and so stream, and we follow each other, and it's like, I have people that watch me still now just because of they love that Fall Guy stream. I don't play it as much anymore, but that's another game similar to Among Us. Even though that has a little more work into it, but that got big.
But really, it's still pretty simplistic, that game. and think of every time you hop in, all those players that are playing at the same time, even if you don't know who they are, and you're like, wow, everybody's just digging this because it's so simple. Simple. Yeah. Like, just get to the end. That's all you're worried about.
Right.
And it's hilarious.
Yeah. Get to the end, push somebody off, and jump. Yeah. You're a bean, and everybody's a different color bean. Someone's a hot dog, one's a cat.
Yeah,
but it's
crazy.
It is a fun. It's a dumb fun game. That's what you need sometimes. Just something to. At the end of the day, all of us just want to pass the time with something.
And if I could do a quick shout out about games that are meaningful, real quick. So, I didn't tell you this. So I'm getting into the gaming industry now myself, and in an aspect where I started my own marketing and PR agency for gaming, right? Working with studios and stuff like that. And one of the games that I'm working on right now is a game called A Corgi's Cozy Hike. And it was 2 devs that are working on this. They have a couple mobile games that they've already done, but they were at PAX, and they were rated like top 10 of PAX. Out of 250 games.
Wow. That's impressive.
And the reason I like this game is you're playing a corgi that you're flying around and all that kind of stuff. It's a very simplistic game, but it's family friendly. And the big thing behind them is they have a mission. Every time that they're selling these games, they're donating 20% of the money they get to help rescue dogs.
Wow, dude, that's
Which I
awesome.
think is an amazing thing.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show that you could be a gamer that likes games that could enjoy something simple like that, that's family friendly, stuff like that. But sometimes it's also about like the story behind the game.
Right.
Right? Like what's going on behind a game that makes that so important. Sometimes you hear about these like Cyberpunk, right? All this drama behind Cyberpunk and the marketing wasn't good and all this stuff and they promised too much, blah blah blah. But you can't tell me that that game didn't have people buying it because of all the drama and stuff that was going on behind it.
Yeah, I mean, another one, No Man's Sky. Remember
there you go.
that? And I haven't played it. I watched gameplay of it, but I heard now that it's a phenomenal game. You know, they just kept working on it, you know?
And I've heard I haven't played Cyberpunk and I've been waiting and I've heard the same thing that that's such a better game now than it obviously ever was.
Yeah. But everybody goes off of, you know, face value sometimes, sadly. You know, especially for this media and you being in the marketing, you sometimes the drama is good. I know it sounds horrible, but
listen,
you know,
you don't want the bad news, but sometimes bad news is news, and you're in the light, and you can make that an advantage for you too, right?
Right. Nope. 100%. My my best ever TikTok, which is, you know, tiny for TikTok, but over 200,000 views, huge for me, was me doing playing with my modded Switch in Animal Crossing and just laughing at the character jumping very far. The dumbest thing. I've worked harder on other reels and stuff, and then that one is a little 10-second clip of me jumping and laughing at it, and it's the best one. And I'm just like, that's all you need sometimes. Something silly.
Because you know why? Because it's genuine and people can relate. That's the best kind of media is like what you can relate to.
No, dude, 100%. You and I feel like we're kindred spirits with a lot of things we talked before, and just the similarities we have. And
maybe it's the New York thing. Maybe that's what it is.
There is definitely a New York mindset, especially for, you know, being in the house for 6 months covered with snow. You're just like, I hate that it's cold outside, but also gives me more time to let me just stream or work on this and focus on that.
By the way, he'll keep this in because I mentioned his name, but Jonzo said to me the other day, well, I knew you guys would hit it off because you have the same kind of accent. And to us, I don't hear any accent.
I don't hear it.
I
mean, you sound great to me personally.
Right, exactly. You know, so it's hilarious that he says that because I don't really think that he has that much
I don't think he does
accent.
Either. No.
So how he picked up on the fact that you and I sound, I don't get it, but I thought that was funny.
Maybe it's the way we say bagel or something. I don't know.
I don't know. Bagel. That's another thing. We were in Boston. Listen, you want to hear about people saying bagel different? Go to Boston.
Oh, man. Well, Boston. I've been to Boston or like New Jersey. I had a coworker that would say bagel, and I'm like, what? What'll?
Yeah.
You know, like. But that's the fun part, especially with Twitch or just in general. Like, I love hearing accents. That's
the best.
That's my favorite part. One of the funniest things for me is when I started streaming. You know, back when I would have like 4, 5, 6, 7 people in chat, and I was like, let's do a Discord night, and listening to all my chatters for the first time. It wasn't on stream. It was just, we're having some fun, you know, and hearing people from Minnesota, Florida, from the South, you know, the deep South, or from overseas. And it's like, whoa. And everybody also interacting with each other's voices, which is, like I said, the backbone of my community, which is let's learn about each other, you know, and or from Canada, right? And talking about maple syrup. They love that one when I say that. And
oh, careful. My girlfriend's Canadian.
Sorry.
Sorry, eh?
But I don't know. That's I'm a sappy fool, but that's my favorite part. Is just getting to know everybody. Like hearing the funny accents is like, well, not funny, but interesting, you know. And
well, my issue is that I have somewhat of an ear for accents, and I'll pick up on them really quickly. And if I'm talking to somebody for too long, I'll start to use theirs. And I'm like, I don't mean any disrespect. I just kind of pick up and go with it.
Yeah, nope. I have a buddy I grew up with. We've known each other since the 3rd grade, but his family's from the South, so he talks Southern. You know, like he goes to visit them, and I'll hang out with
Mhm.
him for an hour, and we're saying the same slang and just talking exactly the same. And then I get home, and I'm just like, whoa, it happens. Maybe maybe
Mhm.
it's a New York thing. Maybe it's something
It
we
could be.
figured out. We're like the
I know.
tofu of language, and then we just blend
The
in with whoever.
tofu of language. And maybe this is the wrong way to look at it, but like I always thought we didn't have an accent because when we grew up and you were watching like broadcast news or
Right.
TV, I felt like they always sounded like us.
Sound like
Well,
us.
duh, they always sounded like us. They're in New
They're
York
in New York.
for the most part, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or California. But either way, it's like, but then I'd go somewhere else and going, why is this? When I
Yeah.
was young, it's like, why are you saying this weird?
Yeah.
You don't get it, but
It, what's funny is whenever I have someone on the podcast, I always ask them, when someone comes to your country, how do you know if they're American? And I've heard so many different variables, whether it's like a baseball cap or the clothes you wear or sunglasses. In Asia, they don't wear sunglasses like we do. And I every time I go out, and I'm like, I gotta protect my eyes. And
wow.
that obviously doesn't really apply to you and me being pretty close, but that's one of my favorite things to figure out.
That's
How do people pick
you know
out
what?
Americans?
Yeah, that's a very interesting topic of conversation, honestly, because I've traveled overseas and
Mm-hmm.
I think like maybe like you hear all these stories too of like, oh, don't go here, they don't like Americans,
Mm-hmm.
or don't go here. And I think every
People love
place
Americans.
they love. I was in one of my favorite places in the world was Nice, France, and I was afraid to go to France in general because everybody
Mm-hmm.
says like, oh,
Oh,
the French don't
French
like
or yeah.
Americans. They were the nicest people. I don't speak any French. And I was like, sorry, can I order this? And he's like, it spoke better English than I did. Oh, yeah, no problem. 450. It's like, okay.
Forget about it.
Hey, we got the best freaking baguettes around, all right?
Okay. I always, whenever someone travels, I love talking about travel because we traveled. I did like a whole 6-month backpacking trip about 7 years ago
Nice.
now.
Yeah.
And similar to you here, actually, before I mentioned that, my sister who worked in South Carolina for a few years, she mentioned to her coworkers, "Oh, my brother's going with his girlfriend across seas," and they go, "He's gonna die." She's like, "These are people that have never left their town. No offense to anybody that hasn't." And
Yep.
she goes, "What?" And then of course, she told me this before, because I visited her before we left, and I was like, I think we'll be fine." But yeah, no, like everywhere we went, oh, you're American. Oh, let me practice my English with you. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm not gonna use Spanish today, or whatever. I tried to learn Japanese or whatever, and it's just like, no, they love it. They take it as, oh, let me practice this on you. Or little kids walking up to us in the street and saying hello, and I'm just like, hi, and they giggle and run away with their other 6-year-old kids, and I'm just like, okay, but yeah, people, Americans get a bad rap, but a lot of
Well,
we're
it
all
always makes me feel
people,
we're all people. It does make me feel a little less intelligent though when you go overseas and they can speak 2, 3, 4 languages, right? I mean, come on, leave a language or two for
Yeah.
the rest of us, right? Come on, you got to do every one of
Yeah,
them.
yeah. Oh, that's my chat. That's my chat. No joke. Oh, especially when I first started streaming. Oh, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Germany. Oh, Germany. That's so cool. Yeah, I also, speak French and English and obviously German, and I know a little bit of whatever language. I'm just like, okay. Hello, like,
Because the borders going over. Were you in Europe when you did your
Yeah.
traveling? It's because the borders are like states.
it's like
there, right?
states, and you could just go, and I'm
and you
jealous
cross
for
them so
that.
quickly.
I'm jealous
Yeah.
for that. Like, I know,
Sure.
I love how big the U.S. is, and really each state can sometimes be its own country. But
Mm-hmm.
talking to you, Florida, but the diversity of just language alone in Europe is just like, or you can take a train, or flights are cheap because they have a great train system. It's just like, oh, let's go here and there. And that's my first episode. If you guys haven't listened yet, episode 1, we talk with Mia, who moved from Italy to the U.S., and she talks about that, and talks about culture shock as well. And it's the best. I love cultures. If I could do something where I could just meet other people, that would be like my dream job. Just
You're doing it. You're doing it right now.
You know what? You're right. And we're only little we're closer to each other than anybody else I've spoken to. But that's the fun
True.
part. That's the fun part. So you said you didn't watch a lot of people play games. You thought it was weird. But is there, now that you've gotten into it, is there a favorite thing you'd like to watch on Twitch or YouTube or whatever?
I watch a lot of YouTube. A lot of YouTube. I don't know why, but like it's my thing. If I sit down, I'm having a sandwich at lunch or whatever, my
Yep.
phone is right there. Like I YouTube Premium, I don't have time for those ads anymore. Like I need the content now. Um, I do watch a lot of gaming stuff. I think that I jump from streamer to streamer a lot more than I thought I would. Not because they're boring, not because I'm getting it's like awesome. I want to see what else is there. It's kind of like FOMO for watching streams. Like
Right.
this is awesome, and I'm gonna come back to this, but what else is going out there?
Yeah.
So it's been lately. It's been a lot of a lot of first person shooters, just because that's the kind of stuff that I enjoy playing.
Right.
And not to begrudge anybody that is big on like MMOs and stuff like that, but those are always very confusing to me because I never played them growing up. So it's very, very intricate. So to watch somebody do it that knows what they're doing, I'm lost there. So I would love to be a part of it, but it's like the time it takes me to learn one of those games, I feel like I'd be like, eh.
Yeah. Well, because you have to learn what they're doing, the terminology, why they're doing certain things. And it's like, okay, I got to read a book before I watch a YouTube video, you know?
And I don't care what FPS you're doing. You understand you have some kind of weapon, you're trying to kill some kind of thing. End of story. Right. So those are kind of enjoyable to me because I think it's like I can pick it up really quick. I do like, speaking of production value and stuff like that, there is a channel. It's a French channel, believe it or not. I think it's called like Le Show or something very simple. But I like watching streamers with the production value that it's just because to me, it's like going back to watching some kind of professional ESPN or broadcast where they're talking about it, but they have a team around them that's doing it, or, switching cameras and stuff like that. That's always been appealing to me. I think it's obviously more the production stuff than it is the streaming stuff. But anybody that's engaging is better. I think I'll hop into a channel, say something to somebody after, like you, watch them for a couple of minutes, see what they're all about, say something to them. But if I don't get any kind of response, I'll give them like 5 minutes. If I don't get anything, gone.
Especially if, I'm not calling anybody out. Like I've probably watched hundreds of streamers trying to either meet people or just see if I can put you on in the background. And if you want to say hi, especially now with first time in chat, if you miss my message, it's been 5 minutes and your chat's either moving slow or if it's moving even a little bit, I make the time to scroll. Oh, I missed a few messages. Let me scroll real quick. What did I miss? And I'll apologize. Oh, hey, so and so. Sorry I missed your message. Welcome in. But yeah, and everybody streams differently. Some people don't.
Yeah.
Bigger streamers don't look at their chat. You know what I mean? But I feel like on our level, it's a little more about community, the connectivity between you and your chat.
Yeah, I can understand why Ninja doesn't want to respond to every message that he gets.
Oh, I've seen his chat.
Crazy.
Oh man, he's an example alone of someone growing. I think it was Fortnite. He was nothing, and then he started playing Fortnite and blew up. For anybody that wants to look up his story,
now he's in the game. He has a ninja skin.
He does. I've never played.
Oh,
I've never played it.
Yeah.
So.
And it's not even like a regular skin. It's one that like you can level up.
Oh,
so he like changes his appearance. Yeah, like they went all in on Ninja.
I mean, good for him. Honestly, like I always root for people. Good for you. One of my favorite things is, I think that's probably why you watch YouTube as well. I love seeing somebody just create something. Like it's you working on it. Maybe you have a small team, depending on how big the channel is. But I just love watching someone. They're holding the camera themselves sometime and, doing this. And you see them grow throughout the video. I love it. I love it more so than the big stuff. It's like, oh, I just want to watch somebody that they love doing this. They love talking about games. They love talking about cars. They love working on their desk setup, and they're showing you what pieces they have or their everyday, what they're carrying, right? Like that's some of my favorite things. And it's sometimes you see the bigger companies trying to recreate that, and you just like,
Right.
It's not it. It's not it. There's something about the personality where someone has put blood, sweat, and tears and hours of editing or figuring out how they're gonna post it, right? And it's just like, oh, just the love that went into it, you know.
I think subconsciously, and again, not to get deep on your podcast, I don't know how deep you want to go, but subconsciously, I think part of the reason why we like watching those is because that is somebody else at sometimes they're most vulnerable. And maybe they don't even realize it.
Right.
But what it is somebody telling you their inner likes, dislikes, their passion, and they could be the biggest extrovert you've ever met. They can public speak, no fear like that, but you're still sharing a part of you out there, throwing it out there and going like, who else wants to watch this or is interested in it? And I think that's why there's a difference between the corporate stuff and the individual, no matter how big your team is, because you are interested in that person and seeing them succeed. Sure, there's haters, there's people that just want to see you fail, but for the majority, people like tuning in because they're like, "That's awesome! Oh, I watched your last video. That's awesome! I'm glad to see you're growing." Right?
No, that's a great point, and it's also going back to like the socializing. And I want a buddy that can tell me about it. I don't have any friends that are interested in this topic. Hearing you talk about it, and it sounds like you're talking to me. Oh, and this is, this is the socket wrench I use or whatever. Oh, okay. Let me write that down, And even when I started streaming, everybody knows this that listens. I'm a researcher. I will research the hell out of anything. Buying a car, buying a house, starting the Twitch stream. Before I bought my house, I listened to probably 200 podcasts about real estate and what to do, what not to do, what to look for. I mean, I got a house, it worked. Who knows if it would have worked, but also, it's a multifamily, right? Where I can make money on it. And then I ended up getting my real estate license a year after that because I just knew so much. And like I said, getting a car, let me read every review for every car, watch every video, every detail. Maybe it's just because I'm bored. Let me do that. And then same way with games too.
You and I, sir, are classic overthinkers. I want to know all the pros and all the cons from 25 different people, right? The off button switch kind of makes this weird click. Okay, but how is it weird? Is it is it tactical?
Yeah.
Is it the sound? Yeah. And I will dive in too deep. And somebody told me the other day, they're like, you buy stuff on Amazon Prime sometimes, right? I go, yeah. They go, you can just send that back, if you don't like it. I'm like, I know, but I want to make sure that when I do, I don't want to send it back. I want the right one.
I know enough about it. I know that it does this one weird little thing, but that most people were saying that it doesn't bother them because it's not a bad click, and
I know that we talked about questions ahead of time and like the whole quote thing, and I wrote 2 down that were special to me, but one just came to my mind that I've been trying to tell myself, and maybe you'll get this. Perfection is the enemy of the good. If you try to make something perfect or get the perfect item every time, you will miss out on getting something that's great, that works for you. It's perfect 95% of the time because you wanted it to be perfect. And that's sometimes my videos or my streams. I don't do them because I'm like, it's not how I want it to be. And you just have to do it and put it out there.
He's got to do it. He's got to do it. Sometimes you hope for the best. See what sticks,
Yep.
Actually, that was kind of been my motto for this year is don't overthink. If I want to do it, try it. I want to do it, try it, just try it. And it's had decent success, as far as buying something. Yes, I'll research the heck out of it. And read 30 reviews. I'm going to read the 5-star as well as the 1-star. But yeah, you know what? You already mentioned your favorite quote. I guess we can move on to one of my favorite questions, gaming pet peeve. Do you have any gaming pet peeves?
Ooh. For myself or like with somebody else or just in general?
Just something that you've seen or experienced,
I don't do it anymore because they don't. This is few and far between with physical copies of games that I buy anymore. But ever since I was little, when I got a new game, I would be the person that when you opened it up, I had to kind of like keep everything and this is what it was. I actually still do this. Maybe this is not a pet peeve, it's OCD. When I play a game for the first time, I want to watch the whole intro. Like I want to them to lead me through the narrative. I don't want to skip it. If I skip it, I feel like I've just cheated somehow.
Right.
They spend all of this time like making this for you, the first impression. that's probably my biggest pet peeve, because I've had friends that have done that. Like, we'll get a multiplayer game, like back in college, physical disc, pop it in there. We're gonna play, and we know we're gonna play multiplayer, but no, I want to see what's the opening cinematic. Who cares? I go, I care. I don't want you to skip it. I just want to watch
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's the first time.
I want to experience it the way they intended. I 1,000%. Kindred spirits here, guys. We're gonna have the Absurd Fox co-stream. So this one's a different question for some people. You know, whether you read or not. But do you have a book that you ever recommend to anybody?
No, I don't read. I think ever since I was little, I have had some kind of reading ADD. Where I'll read 3 pages and then go, I was thinking about 2 weeks from now. I have no idea what I just read. So I'm not a big reader. I do get it. I have gotten a little bit into audiobooks.
Yeah, those help
lately, but most of them, I know this is going to sound boring, have probably been more along the lines of either self-improvement or along the lines of what you were talking about, just being a finance guy myself, different ways to invest in yourself or invest in the future or whatever.
I don't mean to laugh. I just feel like you are answering the question how I would answer it, because anything that I read or listen to has to be an interest, architecture related. I have the most boring. I don't like to read, but when I read, it's like, okay, well, it's architecture or real estate. I can read about that, or some type of gaming thing. So.
I'm just looking up one of the ones I had. I want book that I recommend for anybody that's interested in finance on your own, right? Not necessarily investing, but just like good financial tips. It's called Financial Freedom by Grant Sabatier, Sabatier. It's an awesome book. He's like a 30-something-year-old who basically talks about like living at home to buying his first investment property, which he also lived in, which, then went into something else. But basically, how do you start when you don't have any money to start with?
Right.
And it's just good tips throughout the whole thing. So that's an awesome book.
And another one for you or anybody else listening is Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm not sure if you've heard of that one.
Oh yeah.
I think that's
sure,
pretty given. Everybody's heard that one, but I like to at least mention it when someone mentions something similar.
It's a great book.
And this one may be easier for you. Favorite TV show or movie, either recent or one from childhood. Anything.
Is that easier? It's supposed to be easier.
Easy is relative, I guess.
I don't know. Favorite, because I think a lot of I don't know if you ever feel like this. Maybe this is imposter syndrome. I feel like a lot of my personality I've stolen from watching movies and stuff over the years because I've related to it.
Right.
So like a lot of one-liners and stuff like that. I grew up watching Ghostbusters 1 and 2, probably at a way too young age, but I can literally go through all those lines,
right,
word for word. I think just like the comedy movie. So I would say my top 2 of all time is the first Ghostbusters and Batman 1989. Michael Keaton,
yeah.
Michael Keaton. Hashtag my Batman.
I was actually talking about him in my stream the other day. I was talking about that Batman. How that's what I grew up with.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
the animated series, right?
It's like Pierce Brosnan is like James Bond for me. I was like, I grew up with GoldenEye, 007. Like he was the James Bond. And I remember my dad telling me, "Oh no, he's not the first James Bond." And I'm like, Sean Connery, who? Like.
Right. I mean, a lot of movies I like for different reasons. Like Inglourious Bastards, I like just because I think it's a fantastic movie. I'll watch that all day long. But for some reason, Batman and Ghostbusters, I can just put on, and it's just this comforting. Like, love it. Every part of this, I love it. And sometimes you go back and watch it, and you're like, I never noticed that one thing in the background, right?
Yeah.
Or he says it this way and turns. Yeah. You pick up a couple of things, but. I'm a huge cinephile and love everything I can watch. So,
well, to flip it on it, is there a recent TV show that you've gotten into or you didn't think you would like?
Ooh, that I didn't think I would like. This is relevant. The Consultant with Christoph Waltz from Inglourious Bastards. But
which streaming platform is that on?
The Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. Okay.
And it's basically about a video game company where, and I can say this because it happens like in the first 10 minutes, the CEO dies under weird circumstances, and Christoph Waltz just shows up out of nowhere and he says, "Hey, that CEO basically appointed me to run the company upon his death." And nobody knows who Christoph Waltz's character is. He just shows up and strange things just start happening. And I didn't think I would like it at all, but I started watching. I'm going, this is actually really good.
I'll have to add it to the list. My 12-page long list of things I need to watch. But
I know. It's a long list. What are you watching now? Have you watched something recently?
So I'll mention one. I believe it's called Hello Tomorrow. It's on Apple TV.
Yes.
Apple Plus. Dude,
sure.
I was just like, let me 50s and they're selling property on the moon, and then every episode ends with wait, what? You know, and I haven't 100% caught up yet, but yeah, that's
Same,
probably
I'm still working on that one.
I mean, and that one, and also another one on Apple Plus, not a sponsor, is what's crap? It's with Jason Sudeikis.
The other one, I'm gonna laugh.
The other,
because I would just the other's one that I've been watching.
Which one was that?
Plus. Well, I just got done watching Shrinking with Harrison Ford.
Oh, I didn't see that one. I've seen it advertised everywhere.
Oh, and have you seen Severed? Severance?
Dude, Severance?
Something like that.
You guys just look it up. Something with, like you said, with Adam Scott. And phenomenal show, dude. I was on my edge of my seat the whole time, just like, what's gonna happen? And then the end was like, what? You know, like without giving away too much. That one, and then the other one is the one he's a football coach and he goes over to Europe to coach soccer.
Oh, Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso. I kept wanting to say Ted Mosby from How I Met Your Mother.
Haven't watched it. Do you like that show?
Phenomenal
really
show. Great show.
I know it's gotten rave reviews. I'm not a big football guy, so I didn't know.
I'll pin it like this for you, because I always have this debate with my brother, because
Karate
Kid isn't a karate movie. It's a coming of age movie. Karate Kid. That's a big debate. This movie is more about the drama behind the scenes than just soccer. Sorry, European listeners.
Gotcha.
It's more about behind the scenes and what develops behind, and the cutthroat and the happy and the not happy, and it's more about you watching them play is probably 10%.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah,
it's
that's like that F1 show on Netflix. Why everybody loves that too. If you haven't watched that,
it's an F1.
Yeah, Race to Survive or something like that. You want to talk about drama? That's like if you mixed racing with like the Real Housewives, right? it's all the behind scenes drama that happens.
The real drivers of NASCAR.
It's basically what it is. I'm sure NASCAR is going to have one coming out because the F1 show has been so successful. I think they're on their 4th or 5th season.
Oh wow, yeah. No, Ted Lasso, this 3rd season coming out is their last season. It's meant to be, beginning, middle, and end, and that's it. That's my favorite kind of things. I mean, look at Breaking Bad, a show that had a beginning, middle, and end, and then you have Walking Dead, which was, let's milk this as long as we can. Show that I used to love.
I never saw one episode of it.
It's a good show. It just lasted a long time. I like something that it ends. I may want it to keep going, but it ended on a high note, and I can there's rewatchability. I don't want to have to sit down for 6 months and I watched it all over again. And that's coming from somebody that rewatches Parks and Rec and Schitt's Creek and The Office of it. And, I watch those all the time, but sometimes it's just nice to know this is the beginning, this is the middle, this is the end. I know how it goes. I don't like things that drag on. So, but I think everybody listening to this podcast episode has realized I'm just preaching to the choir as far as how you and I think. So,
yeah, we are identical, I think, in our thinking a lot of the time. So, which is hilarious for somebody I've just actually talked to for the first time.
Well, I mean, I was telling you before this episode how there's a few people, a Jonzo episode, Jetpack Paul, and now it's you, where it's like I'm talking to like a buddy from childhood. That's how it feels. So
it's a small world, man.
Hey, if there's anything to get out of this episode, guys, it's that we're all just trying to get through it. we're all just people. We're all just trying to have fun or create something, just have moments, you know. That's the best thing.
Help each other do it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We can do this stuff together, and we don't have to agree on everything. Let's just do it, man. Just be a friendly
Right.
person. You don't know what somebody's going through, too. Just
Exactly.
pick them up and carry them with you.
Yep. Nope. That's exactly it. And I'm gonna give a quick shout out to my Twitch chat and my listeners that like have supported me for this job change and just like, you got this, Parrot, sending me messages and the little things. It's like smiling at somebody walking down the road. It just makes a huge difference. You don't even realize.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Fox, I gotta say, I think this was a great episode, and I appreciate you coming on. And we'll make sure to have all your socials in the description, guys. Go give Cybrfox a follow on Twitch. He's on YouTube. We'll have his link, connect, and everything for you. And appreciate you coming on, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You put pressure on me with the first FPS guy. I was like, oh no.
I got more lined up. We had to, had to break the ice with you,
No, thank you for having me, Paris. Awesome. Awesome talking to you, man.
All right, man. We'll have a good one.
You too.
Thank you.